All right. Last subject for this morning. Actually, we could have, if we wanted to, in that form here, like this adult form that I messed with earlier, you can send that to the printer and it'll print out each record on a separate sheet of paper like that. So if you never need to do something like you can do that, but there's better ways to do printing than that. We'll do what's called a report next. This is when you want to do printed stuff. Now, the trick here again is to think about what the report's supposed to have. If all the information's on one table, just go right into the report wizard, do the thing. If you need information from more than one table, or you need to calculate something, whatever, for whatever reason, then write a query, do all that work in the query, save the query, go to the report wizard, and you'll be done in next to no time. Okay. So I'm going to make just one query here, or one report this morning. I've already got it done, then I'll go back. Let me show it to you for a second. This kids report, come on, looks something like this. Okay. So here I've got information from more than one table, so the easiest way to do this is create a query, build a report off that query. So I'll need some household information about the kids living there. This is a calculated field, so I'm going to have to calculate that, all that sort of stuff. All right, so that's what it looks like. So the query looks like this, the kids report query. So don't double click on it, right click, design view will take you into it and show you what's in there. So I'm looking for kids in 3 states, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. There's the information I want about their household. And over here further, it's like Ken Mail. They don't have internet or high-speed internet, and they have income above a certain number. All right. Now these things over here aren't going to be in the report, but I need them for criteria purposes, so I uncheck the box because I want to just have the table contain the information I need, because it makes the report a lot easier to write. The other thing I did to save myself a lot of time when it comes time to tidy up the report is I picked the fields in the order that they're going to appear left to right on the report. So I want HHID, well actually I want state to be the first one, so I can probably save myself a little bit of time here by making that the first one. But again, if you spend a few seconds here thinking about how the order they should appear left to right on the report, if you do that here, you'll save yourself way more time when it comes time to design the report. All right. And then I always run this thing once just to make sure that I've got everything looking the way I want it, and that looks just right. Okay. So that's done. I've gathered the information. Step 2 is to create the report. Over here towards the right-hand side of the ribbon, there's the report wizard. We'll use that again. Okay. Pick the query that you want to base this off of, and since that was the last thing I had to open, it remembered that. If it's not that one, again, there's this drop-down thing here. You just pick the thing you want. It's the kids report. Obviously, I want all those fields because I spent some time in my query setting it up right, so I can just do a double arrow there. So I'm done with that. On to the next step. Okay. This is how they're going to be grouped on the report. Is this what you want? Yes, because I want the one. Up there we'll have a household's information and then all the kids on separate lines, and the next household information and the kids in that household, so on and so forth. That's fine. We'll go to next. Do you want to have any additional groupings? I'm going to break state off, so I'll have all of Connecticut, or yeah, I guess I'll have Connecticut, right? Yeah, Connecticut's there, and then Massachusetts, the next state, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to say group that. All right. So that created another grouping there. That looks nice. Next. Okay. On the detail records, on the kids' records, what order do you want them displayed in? Do you want to do girls first, then boys? Do you want to do it oldest to youngest, youngest to oldest? However, for each, how do you want those records ordered on the report? And we'll just do date of birth in ascending order, like that. Next. Okay. Again, we can change this later, but you know, if you pick the right one here, you'll save yourself a significant amount of time in designing the thing. This dark area up here at the top, that's the report header. Think of that as the front page. This stuff in the middle here, this stuff there is called the page headers. And then in here, this would be state, this would be household information, this would be kid information. Okay. And you can pick any one of those that you want. You know, if you want to save a few pages of output, if you've got a lot of records you need to print, blocked, it takes out a few blank lines in there. It condenses the output so you can save some paper. And if it's just a short report, you can use outline, which stretches things apart even further. Makes it a little bit easier to read, but it takes up more paper. Okay. I usually just pick step because it's sort of the middle of the road, but again, that's up to you. Next. What do you want to call this? I might just call this special report. Finish. And it threw me into print preview. This is what it's going to look like when it goes to the printer. Now, it's not quite right because notice over here on the right-hand side, things kind of get jumbled up because there's not enough space in there and stuff like that. So we're going to want to edit this, and in here there's the same layout editor that we just saw in Forms. So if you close Print Preview, the button here on the right-hand side of the ribbon, that puts you into Design View, which you don't really want. So change that to Layout View. And now it's the same editor that we used before. So we did the addition of grouping. Okay. So I can start doing stuff like I pull this thing over here. Oops, not that one. Here we go. This one. I need to give myself more room on the other side of them. So all I'm doing is just pulling stuff around, right? And I'm not spending a lot of time thinking about lining things up. But you get the idea of where I'm going with this, right? And that one, and that one. Okay. And then this one's not wide enough. There we go. Now, notice that child driver got lopped off because there wasn't enough room on the page, but we can insert that. On the right-hand side of the ribbon, it says Add Existing Field. Right here, pick that, and it's child driver, just pick that. And it's going to dump it on the left-hand side. That's okay, we can just drag it over to the right-hand side and put it wherever you want, actually, right? And I still didn't give myself enough space for it. Like that. All right, anyway, you just play around with it and you can dress the thing up. So we can do that sort of stuff. We can change, okay, so we can do that. All right, now, I picked the child driver column, and up here on the ribbon now where it says totals, I'm going to turn where it says totals. I can do that. Count records. How many detail records are involved in that household? Count values. How many of those records have non-null values? In other words, not missing. So I'll just say count records here, and that's going to throw that in there and say, well, there's 3 kids in that household. So I can create a summary statistic for each household by doing that total thing up there. So that's a little bit different. That's one thing different here than what we saw on the Forms editor. And then again, conditional formatting works here as well, except it's in a different place. All right. This is all pretty much the same. Arrange, and here again, if we talked earlier about stacked and outlined and blocked and all that sort of stuff. If you want to change it, you can come in here and change it here. You can do a couple of other things to make it look a little bit more visible or visually pleasing. There we go. Format, here's your standard formatting stuff, change color, font, type, size, all that good stuff's in here. Conditional formatting should be here. It is. So that stuff's, again, the same as what we saw on the form editor, is what you're used to seeing in Word. And on the last tab, portrait and landscape. If you're having trouble trying to fit all the columns on the page, then you can flip the page sideways, and then that'll give you some more space to fill in, you know, that last column that you just didn't have room for there. And you can dress this up and make this into a report. Okay. So, any questions about this? Oh, let me go back to this one right here. This one here, it's got way too many decimal places. This is just the ratio of the home value to income. So that first house there, they have a home that's roughly 4.5 times their income. So we can fix that, again, right here, property sheet, format. We'll tell it to do fixed and 3 decimal places or something like that. Okay. Now that does, again, all that does is just change the display value, not the stored value. And there's that. All right. So it's kind of messy at this point, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time here fussing with it, because it's just a matter of dragging things around and dropping them where I want. Any questions about this? All right, last thing in here. Again, if you need even more control over it, you can go into this design view. And it's not an easy thing to deal with, but there it is. And back to print preview, because there's a couple of things here that we should be aware of. Okay. So you can change the margin here. You can send what printer. All that stuff's the same over here. Over here on the right, though, you can, instead of send it to the printer, you can send it to something else. You can send it to an Excel spreadsheet. Not quite sure why you'd want this to be in a spreadsheet, but you could do that. You can turn it into a PDF file. Just maybe you're making, I don't know, a business presentation or something. And over here under More, why they hit under More, I'm not for sure, but there it is. You can send this off to Word. If you're making some, big report or something like that, and you've got most of your, your information in a Word document, you can create this in Access and then make it as a separate Word document and merge the 2 Word documents. So that's nice to know. And actually, if we're slowly moving from paper to web displays, so you can turn this into HTML and just put it up in your web server, and you're done with it. Okay. So that's how you can get a report into other things. Questions about the report writer? Okay, last thing. Let me just close out of here. Okay. How do I get my data back into Excel? Well, there's 2 ways to do it. Depends on where you're sitting. If you're in Access and you want to move something over to Excel, then you just pick the objects you want to move, either a table or a query. And I'm just going to pick a query. If I pick a query, before it actually moves the data over to Excel or wherever, it'll run that query and create that table. And that table's the thing that actually gets moved to wherever I send it to. So I've got all sorts of queries here. That kids report. Maybe I just want the data in a spreadsheet, or I don't know, whatever. Query 1. What was query 1? Oh, that thing. All right. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm just going to move households. What the heck? So you pick the thing that you want to move. Go to External Data up on the ribbon and say Excel. And I'm just going to put this on my desktop. You can put it wherever you want. Oh, I have to give it a name. I'll just call this demo. Like that. What? Oh, I know what I did wrong. Pick the thing, there we go. Pick the folder I want. Open that. What am I doing wrong? try this again. Pick the table, go to Excel, there we go. And just say OK. And now it's in my desktop. Done. And I'm going to close out of Access here. And there's my spreadsheet here. And this is how I got the data for when we were doing pivot tables. I just exported it back to Excel from a database, right? And there it is. If you're in Excel. Now, because of the way we've got the machine set up here in the lab, you have to have the Access database closed before you can do this next trick, which is why I closed out of it. But you can just go to a new sheet in your Excel spreadsheet, or in your workbook. And again, you're probably going to want to see the ribbon, so let me move this down a little bit. Okay, so you can see that. All right. Data from Access. And then you point to the database container, which happens to be floating on my desktop. Pick that, open that, and then it says, which one of these things do you want to import? Notice I have both the queries and the tables listed here. So again, if I pick a query, it'll run the query, it'll create that dynamic answer table, and it'll bring that in here, and then it'll close up shop and Access and go on. So again, I don't know, I'll just pick kids. Well, it doesn't matter which one I pick, I guess. No, I'll pick adults. Okay. And then we'll just say table. And we're done. And it actually brings it in as a filter table. And you can do whatever you want to do with it here. Okay. Because the thing that Access is really good at storing and retrieving information. But in terms of analyzing it, there's not a lot you can do there. There's the cross-tabulation table, and that's just about it. So if you wanted to do more sophisticated sort of stuff, the idea is to bring it back into Excel and then do whatever you wanted to do with it at that point. All right. Any questions? Okay. I'm done teaching for the semester. You guys can go on to practice 3 and create a report. And then we're done for the day. All right? So go ahead and get started.